Hi guys, and welcome to the show. I'm Lisa Akbari, your hair doctor, and I've been away for about a week, and I did miss you guys. Wow, it's something I was thinking about you guys every day. That is so funny. But okay, I'm back. So let's get to our questions. I have tons of questions, as you know. I did try to email some of you guys last week, but I am back on track. All right, first question. How can your customers who order your products on a regular basis inquire about receiving special deals and discounts? Do you have anything in place for this? Well, we have deal of the day, and we should have that on our site. If you go on our website at lisaakbari.com, you can find that information there. Also, you can call our institute. I have a hair nutrition store with consultants standing by at all times and ask about the deals. You can send us your information and ask to be on our mailing list, our email list, and we can put you on as well. So just those are the ways. All right. Okay, next question. She says, I am natural and have a 9-year-old daughter who is natural. Okay. Is there a way to tell if a company's products are safe for use on children? Okay. With products, you want to look for some basic things. Products that can be used on adults can be used on children. What you want to remember is when you're using chemicals, the hair is going to mature a different way with children. In other words, it will begin to mature after 9, 10, and on into their teens and then adults. And as the hair changes, then their texture may change, color, and even type. So when you're using chemicals, then the requirements will be different. But with natural hair, when you're using products, you still need to balance the protein and moisture levels. You still will need to be sure to cleanse and clarify the hair. With natural hair, kinky hair type, you'll need to hydrate and lubricate daily. So those are basic things. So if you're looking to see if something's safe, you want to look at whether or not there's chemicals there and you're not using chemicals. With like some of the baby shampoos, there are no more teethers. Well, those are not necessarily safe for the hair, even though they're good for babies, because they won't cry or hurt their eyes when they use the shampoo, but you're not shampooing eyes anyway. So I'm hoping that helps. It says, what do you need to look for when choosing products to use on your child's hair without getting the runaround from companies? Well, a lot of times they don't really know what to say to you, because hair products, cosmetics are made. They're not like, again, chemicals or medication. In many cases, the cosmetics are going to be very similar. You just want to look for the things that you know are needed with shampoos. For example, you want the pH of your shampoo to be acidic in reaction, because the hair is 4.5 to 5.5. You want to clarify. You want to hydrate and use protein in your conditioners. And you want your leave-in products to be very friendly to the scalp and hair. So you don't want to feel that sticky feeling as you put the product on. So I think that's really where you are with these companies, and maybe not in their defense, but just so that you are comfortable to understand that most of the times these products will not harm your children's hair or your child's hair. The thing that you want to remember is it may not give you the look or the feel or what you're looking for in a product, or the health for that matter. Next question. What oils do you recommend for very dry hair? Well, if your hair feels dry, then you're not looking for oil. This is the rule. If your hair feels dry, you need a moisture. If it looks dull, then you need oil to lubricate. Moisture to soften, oil to make shine. Okay, so it's with relates to oils. You want to look for oils that will give you high shine. You want to put the oil on your skin, and you want to rub it into your skin. If you get a nice shine on the back of your hand, then usually, and it's not sticky, then usually it's going to be hair friendly. Okay, so try that with your favorite oil. And it says, is argan or oil a good oil to be used on my natural hair? Are there any benefits of using it? If so, what are they? Let me just explain to you with oils. Even oils that are natural. Because a lot of people ask me. I had a phone appointment today. Someone asked me about olive oil and some other oils. Again, I recommend that you use oils that are going to give you high shine, lubricate, and are not sticky. A lot of times you want to be careful with some of the natural oils, unless they're like jojoba or even some of the animal oils like mink. Those are pretty good. But if you use oils, olive oils, and those, they're great naturally, but their weight is too heavy for the hair. So if you're looking at this, I'm going to do a little more research on it, but it's this argan oil. It's not necessarily a bad oil for natural hair, but it's not an oil that's necessarily, out of all of the oils out there, one that's going to stand out and do more for your hair. Now, as it relates to your skin, you do want to make sure that you're staying safe with things that you put on your skin. Okay, next question. I just started my natural hair. I guess. She said natural hair, meaning no heat, as for a blow dryer. As far as a blow dryer, flat iron, things like that. And she said, my hair is not breaking off, but I can see that my hair falling out in its curly state. And I can hear my hair snapping, especially in the middle. In the middle, that is the driest and shortest part of the head. I believe it is short because I tug on it a lot when I put on my ponytail. Please help. So that question, I was a little confused with that, and I think I read it kind of weird, but what I'm hearing here is that her hair seems to be changing when she uses her heated tools. It's no longer as curly after it's wet again. Well, that's what I call overprocess with a heated tool. I used to call it overprocess with a pressing comb, but so many people use these heated tools to straighten their hair. And what happens, there are two ways to overprocess the hair: through pressured heat or through chemicals. So what happens with the heated tool, you press the cuticle so much that it's flattened into the cortex, and those bonds, cortical fiber bonds, become so flat that it's like someone has relaxed your hair. So when you re-wet your hair, then the curl pattern won't come back because the bonds, those fibers are permanently flattened. So it's almost like having a relaxer. So you want to be careful. Stay around 250 degrees with fine hair. I wouldn't say any higher than 350 to 400 with coarse hair. And you always want to hydrate before you use a heated tool, so that'll help with cooling the hair. And never use a heated tool on dirty hair, because that will thin it out as well. When you find that you don't think you're breaking, but your hair is thinner, then you're probably losing layers and something called meltdown. I call it meltdown. When you use heated tools and you overexpose your hair, the strand begins to melt down. Your top layers burn off. Under the microscope, it looks like someone has carved into your shaft. So it's something you really want to be careful with. Tugging and pulling. The hair has elasticity. That's the ability of it to stretch without breaking. Well, what happens when you do too much tug of war, like pulling, then you will create microscopic tears. The hair may not break at that period of time, but over a period of time, it will end up breaking off because it's lost its elasticity because of the tears. So be careful. It says, I'd like to know, how safe is it to use the tangle teezer to detangle my hair? Is the tangle teezer a must-have product for detangling? And is there any time when it would be wise to use it? Well, I don't recommend it because it looks too much like the shampoo brush, and when you put it on, you scrape through the hair. So you're really kind of pulling and tearing at the same time. I noticed something that some of the ladies, I did look at some of those little videos of them, and some of the ladies, I found that they would have hair in the little brush. Some people use it and didn't. So I'd like to maybe get one and test it and let you guys know, but I don't recommend that you remove tangles with any tool. I recommend you remove the tangles with your moisturizers, good leave-in conditioner, fingers, and thumb. Press the product into the core of the tangle and then smooth straight down, keeping it flat like the cuticle. And then you go in with your human comb, and if you have no resistance, then you slide straight through and you're done. But the core of the tangle is where you want to get to, and that's why you're pressing with your fingers and thumb, or your forefinger and thumb. On my website, on my natural hair page, I have a video of me detangling my hair. So you would try that and you'll love it. Okay, let's see if we may be able to put a link on here for you. All right, it says, I am, let's see, the next question. Okay, it says, I want to know, do your products have mineral and petroleum in it? Is that bad for the hair? Mineral oils are a form of petroleum, and what happens is the weight of that, they can be used as a carrier product. So to answer your question, I use a certain weight of mineral oil in my product, and well, I used it in some of my formulations. We are eliminating it only because it's just basically outdated. I've had a product line for many years and I've used that in it, but we're now, it's becoming outdated and there's some other things that are better. But it was used as a carrier oil. So the molecular weight, how the oils are processed, will determine whether that weight works for you. So don't think that I'm saying petroleum is good in its natural state of weight, because what happens is too heavy. But if it's processed properly, in other words, if it's thinned out and processed, it can be used to carry other oils and other parts of the formula together and help them to blend. So yes, in the past I have, and we're outdating it, but not because it's something really bad, because there are other things that are better. Okay, should a person cut their ends if they are very thin? Well, if your ends, I'm assuming you're speaking of this thin. If your ends are thinning, then you have options to treat them or cut them away. Now, for grooming purposes, those thin ends will probably need to be cut away because you won't style. Like I have some little small thinner ends because with my relaxed hair and some of the things that I've done in my little studies, you can see it right there. Some of the studies I've conducted, I've thinned out some of my layers, showing you guys about, breakage and those kind of things in some of my studies. So but I'm using them. So I'll just twist and tuck and I use them to help create my style. So it's up to you. But for grooming purposes, yes, but you can save them as long as you treat them. All right, and that's daily hydrating them, and you should be fine. The next question, after doing a roller set, what would cause the hair to shed or break? Many cases, and this is a very good question, many cases we have people who roller set their hair and they sit under the dryer over a period of time, and once the hair dries, it dries out. And you're drying out because you're trying to dry hair that's closer to the scalp or hair that's wrapped up in the roller. So you're just drying out the hairs on top. So when you comb through, it breaks. So you're losing layers. So in order to prevent that, when you're under the dryer and you have a smaller roller and you want to, you're trying to really get it dry, so you're extending your drying time, you can cut down the drying time and you can stop the dehydration by two ways. Number one, you want to make sure that you roller rotate. So if you roll your hair toward you, after about 10 minutes, you loosen it up and roll it, and then clip it back in. You loosen it up, rolling in the opposite direction. You see what I'm saying? So you roll it towards you. 10 minutes later, you turn it forward, and you put the clip back in just so it's secure, and you'll see that little bubble of hair sticking up where that's air getting underneath there to dry the hair faster, so you dry it half the time. The other thing is you want to make sure you moisturize. So when the hair that's on the top that you know is dry, on the top of the roller, you moisturize over the top of all of your rollers so that that hair stays hydrated while the hair underneath is drying out. That's a little tip. That's a good one. Okay, it says, now, can you tell me, next question, can you tell me your thoughts on, what your thoughts are on using clear rinse glossifiers. Well, my thoughts on clear rinse glossifiers, they're like, they're similar to hennas. They're just basically going to give the hair shine. But you got to remember, those gloss, if they're clear, if they're rinsed, because there's different types of glossifiers. If there's one that you rinse in, they will be similar to like a henna product that's they're clear hennas or neutral hennas. And they just basically are supposed to give the hair some shine. Then there's glossifiers that you put on top of the hair and you just, rub them into the hair and they give hair shine as well. Well, you have to be careful that these don't contain wax, or you make sure that after you use them, you can still get a squeaky clean when you shampoo, because that lets you know if you have what we call a cosmetic buildup. And if you have a cosmetic buildup over a period of time of using these glossifiers, you will have a dull head of hair. So my suggestion, if you must use the glossifiers, if that's like the thing that's giving you the shine that you want, then you want to clarify for sure. And you want to let the clarifier sit on a few minutes and then rinse. Now this is before you wet. Put your clarifier on all over and then let it sit a few minutes and then rinse well and shampoo or repeat on your shampoo. So you wear the glossifier. After you finish, it's time for shampooing. Then you put the shampoo on, let it sit a few minutes, then rinse. And that way you know you've got it all off the hair shaft. Okay, next question. It says, my question is, I am going on an extensive holiday. Yay, good for you. In tropical climates of Africa. Super. Although it will be the coldest point of the year. Okay. And while I'm still preparing my layer, I am repairing my layer peeling issue. What are the best protective styles I can do? Single braids and extensions or own hair, for instance. How should I maintain my hair underneath in terms of cleansing, conditioning, and moisturizing? Thanks a lot. Okay, we have a braid program. You want to, number one, have products with the molecular weight that can go through all the extensions that you're putting on. Extending the hair, using the extensions are great protective styles, but they're not zero maintenance. So you want a braid program. You want to make sure you're clarifying and using that between the braids so you get to your scalp. And then when you clarify on top of the braids, you squeeze all the way down the braid so that it's going through the extended hair or the added hair, and it's going right to your natural hair. Okay. All right. So make sure you do that. That's very, very important. The other thing you want to make sure is that you daily spray your leave-in conditioner on, moisturize your hair, and oil your scalp. This is going to help protect. And so shampooing or clarifying, how often? You want to make sure you clarify at least, I would say, twice a week, and if it's really sweaty, if you get sweaty, 3 times. All right, so pay attention to how much you sweat. And she mentioned the coldest time period of the year, but you'll have to pay attention to your body and how it's responding to everything. And protective styles are okay, but I would wear my fro because I'm going to make sure I hydrate and dress it for bed properly. I mean, there's just things you can do to protect your hair, but I know a large amount of women, particularly African-American women, we braid our hair when we go on vacation. And I don't know, maybe it's because we don't want to do anything to it. I don't know, but you don't have to do that. You're fine. Pulling it up, it's my favorite. But protecting is just to protect and preserve by taking care of it, not by just covering it up. All right, so it says, I want to know what are the benefits if any, to using shea butter on natural hair. Do you suggest using this product on natural hair and or part of a natural hair regimen? Shea butter is great. It's a raw material that many tried to get me to put in my products many years ago. I don't think, the reason I didn't choose that because the weight. And, I talk about that all the time. I think it's great for the skin. I think what happens with the hair over a period of time, there's a negative cosmetic buildup. That's hard to say because shea butter is such a great product, a raw material, but I just don't think it would be the best thing for your hair. Okay, unless they can find a way to process it so that it's it's more like a souffle or something that's really light and not so dense. And the because it tends to clog up the hair pores, or the cuticle layers, I'll say. Okay, fine versus thin. Fine, natural. Okay, this is something that deserves its own show. Fine versus thin. Fine hair, the hair textures are coarse, medium, and fine. When your hair is thin, that is no longer a texture. It's a unnatural texture change. There's a difference between thin and fine. Fine hair is a small strand. Thin hair is where that small strand has become smaller, which does not hold a style. It will not become full. Fine hair can look full. Thin hair cannot. Okay? That means that you've lost so much of that strand that that hair is barely holding itself together. So fine is natural, can be. Thin is unnatural. All right? So remember that. So why does this happen? This happens when you overexpose the hair. If you have fine hair, you cannot use more than 250 degrees of heat, period. In most cases, most people are on the line there and they have some dehydration there as well, then you need to be careful and just roll a set. Combing, be sure that you don't pull and tug through tangles. It's the same thing with coarse, but it's just like a twig versus a tree trunk. Coarse hair, tree trunk; fine hair, twig. What happens is you can almost blow and the twig falls over. But a tree trunk, you can chop, 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 and it still doesn't move. It just has big dents in it. Well, big cuts in it. Well, that's what happens with fine hair. Fine hair damages faster because there's not a lot to it. The body is so small. So the fullness goes away. All right? So be careful. Fine is natural, but thin is not. All right. Okay, my hair stopped growing after a certain length on one side of my forehead. It's been years and it's awkward. I would be very happy if you could help me. All right. When you have hair that has grown from the follicle, if it's just shorter on one side than the other, then that probably means that you have developed short hair syndrome and you've lost some texture to the hair, like we talked about the fine versus thin. Or you've got some cuticle loss. In other words, you've got parts of that body that's gotten smaller, and so you may have created some tears there. You have lost the elasticity, so the hair is not obtaining length. There's a difference between growing and obtaining length. You grow from the scalp, you obtain length from the actual shaft. So you've got to protect and preserve the shaft. If the strands are small, you need to use a leave-in conditioner that's going to be able to give you some protein and some hydration and just kind of smooth it through and probably roll that area. Or if it's natural, you can use your leave-in conditioner, a little bit of moisturizer, and even oil, and smooth down to get a ribbon smooth in, and then twist it and tuck that in. And do that nightly. So if it's natural, if it's straight, then you want to use your leave-in conditioner, your vitamin. And if it feels dry, of course, you can add the moisture. But that's the reason why you don't get length. I have a program called Get the Length. You can go on my website, eliseakbari.com. That's if you need the help. But other than that, try the things that I said. Okay, next question. It says, I have bald patches in the crown, and the little hair I do have is brittle and damaged. A couple of things it sounds like. Number one, it sounds like you may have developed follicular epidermis alopecia, which is a type of baldness that comes from skin damage. It really sounds that way. The brittle, dry hair may be because of some of the things you did to the scalp that caused the hair shaft itself to dry out as well. You need to be looked at. You need an examination. There's internal and external follicular problems. You could have an internal problem where the follicle is not functioning well, the cells are all dehydrated, and the hair is growing out brittle. So it could be some things there, but you need to see first a trichologist, one that uses a handheld microscope to examine your scalp and your hair. At that point, let the trichologist make a recommendation. You may have to see a dermatologist after that. And if not, it may be a different practitioner, but you need to see a trichologist first. If you have alopecia, guys, or baldness, you really need to be checked out because you just don't know. But there are telltale signs to that. Itchy, flaky, tender to follicular epidermis alopecia. If you're not having any symptoms at all, then either you've got scar tissue and you're past the symptoms, or you just have some internal follicular issues. So be examined and check it out. You can get some free counseling. Call me, my institute, at 901-380-4445 and ask for a phone appointment, and I'll speak directly to you guys. I would love to do that because I know that there's an epidemic of hair loss among women, particularly African American women. We just have some problems here, and we don't have to. Okay, it says I use coal tar shampoo. Oh, this is another part of it. 3 times a week, and I have tried any and everything to regrow with no success. Is there anything you can tell me that is different, or I should just use? I just get used to the ideal that I'll never have hair. No. Am I doomed to life with wigs and caps? No, don't say that. The examinations will tell you. So try that, okay? All right, next question. There are 2 sections, one on each side of my head and the same place on each side, that really won't grow. It leads to gaps in spaces in my natural styles. What do you think could cause this? Okay, cause of this stunting of my hair growth. Are these 2 spots stunted? And what can I do to correct them? Again, 2 things. Well, I'm going to say this not again, but I'll say this. 2 things. One, you want to take a look to see if we are actually bald or just short. If we're bald, it could be some internal follicular problem, which could be genetically linked. If it's just short, then it could be short hair syndrome. And you can have stage 1 all the way to stage 4. And stage 4 would mean that the hair is so short you can see your scalp. Stage 1 would be just dull. Well, that's not the case because you notice that dullness won't hold a style. You may be headed towards short hair syndrome. Stage 2 is long hair, but it's thin. And stage 3, short and just won't seem to grow, which sounds like where you are. But that can be corrected by taking care of the shaft. No matter how short that is, taking care of the shaft, lubricating the shaft. And if it's a chronic case, hydrating and lubricating. If it's a chronic case, then you might have to be seen, so that special treatments may need to be done in a clinic. But I can tell you right away, I've had patients long distance and I've never seen them, but I've talked to them, heard their symptoms, described them to me. It sounded like short hair syndrome, gave them some tips on treating their hair, obtaining length, and they now have longer hair. Look at your scalp. If there's any itching problems, then there may be some problems with the scalp that's indirectly causing hair problems, or you're rubbing and scratching and picking at your scalp, and they may be causing it. So we got to look at that as well. Okay, I think we're done for this. We're going to have a part 1 and a part 2. So I think we're done with these questions. And then on the next tape, I will give you the other questions. Thank you guys so much. I love you. To God be the glory in Jesus. I'll see you in just a minute. Bye-bye.